penetrating through is where you exist. So when it penetrates into the mind, sorry, that's what you're going to be aware of, everything in your mind. Right? So it gets really weird, because on this one hand, you have this very blissful, joyful presence that is so much well-being, and then you have this mind being very petty and morose at the same time. And it often wins. Because, if you really look, the petty, morose mind is always screaming for your attention. And the being is like, well, pay attention to me if you want, but if you don't, I don't need you. It's not personal at all. And so the more, and the ego wants to make it personal. I mean, I have talked to so many people who have a personal relationship with God. And spooky. How? God's a non-personal entity. I mean, so so he loves you, but hates the African kid that's starving to death. That's the only place you can go with something like that. Judgment, there it is. So to erase all that, to not hold this position of a spiritual being, that's a bunch of crap. To be present with the full force of your life force, right here, right now. And that doesn't take anything other than courage. It really doesn't. It doesn't take any other thing other than the courage to let it happen and to not put the brakes on. And there's the chasm, is the trust. Right? We haven't lived an impeccable life. We're trying to, and we're starting to see what the impeccable life looks like, maybe. But there's still this giant chasm between it, who we were, and who we are striving to be presently.
And courage did come up today. That word kept coming at me. Have courage, courage, courage. Because I was in that moment of fear, and I said, I know you are an illusion. You are the fear that has been mass-produced to control all of us for eons. And so trying to release that fear in that position, and yet looking back at it going, that's so not the plan here. All there is love. So again, that feeling of, ugh, and then, then there was courage. And he just kept saying courage.
It is the best aspect of us. And we all have it.
Is it the striving to fulfill or to feel that life force?
It's the relinquishing your fear of actually harnessing it.
Okay.
That's what courage is. Courage is, okay, presently my energy is of a fearful nature. It's resonating, not with being, but with the absence of being. Because fear is nothing more than the absence of being. So when we feel the rift, right? Like, okay, an hour ago we were floating on a cloud. We understood. We were clear. We knew where we were going. The next hour we get to visit our petty little mind, and there's such a disconnect, right? And you know that one's got to go because you can't have both. Right? So really, it came down to what I mean by courage is when you decide to, when you're forced to because you're sick of yourself, release any kind of thing that is not well-being. It burns. And you get to this place where you usually, when we feel bad, the first thing we're going to do is define it. Because we feel that if we define it with our minds, we control it. Who wants to control negativity and fear?
Wow.
I mean, really, even if you could control it, ew. It's like being a prison warden. Yuck, who wants to do that? Locked up with a bunch of angry people. It doesn't sound like fun. So it's locked up with its own angry self. Like, you get two in the same cage. The mind will beat the crap out of the heart. And the heart will sit there and take it. And it won't break. Ever. So I started to notice that, wow, courage is nothing in the mind. It's in the heart. when you understand it's unbreakable, you can feel anything. Feeling something won't kill us. It's how we decide to react to that. But then reaction is a choice based on an ego mind. So, if you take away the ego mind, you take away the reaction. Now there's just energetic presence. And it really comes down to, is this well-being? And if not, adjust it so that it is. So, in a way, by focusing on your fear, you change it. Have you ever noticed something you pay attention to and focus on changes? You ever notice that? So don't focus on love, because that is perfect on its own. Focus on your fear. People go, wait a minute. Be negative? No. Don't take your awareness off of what is eating you. Because if you apply enough awareness to what's eating you, and you put life force into that, it's going to run. And it will eat you no longer. It will not even come around you. But as long as it has its talons, its claws in your ego mind, it can always, you should be afraid. You're going to get hurt. It convinces you that you aren't a spirit. It convinces you that you are nothing more than a piece of flesh that is decaying from the moment it was born. Which to me has got to be the most dismal view anyone could ever have in a universe that is so abundant with life. That is held together in such perfect proportion. I mean, to me, it's like perfection is obvious. It's all around us. Did you know if the earth moved any further from the sun than where it is, life would stop? Do you know if it moved any closer to the sun than where it is, life would stop? So there's this very narrow band where life can happen. That's perfection. And it's obvious to us. The earth stays the perfect distance from the sun so that we can all sit here and make stuff. Right? And we have been doing that incessantly for at least 40,000 years. Right? I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. I'm like, we've been playing Monopoly for 10,000 years now, and it's getting very old. Anybody played Monopoly before? It's boring after 2 hours. We've been doing this for 10,000 years, and it's time to play something new. This dominating, look, it's fixated on control. Even America, which was supposed to be this shiny beacon of freedom, this place where you could be all you wanted to be, you had the right pursuit of happiness and joy and liberty and all these things. It can't even maintain that. It's turning into a totalitarian state. Authoritative to no end. And it's getting there quickly. You're pulled over for not wearing a seatbelt and treated as if you're a child. Well, you should have your seatbelt on. What are you, stupid? And so this is going on left and right? We have people going to jail for non-crimes, all kinds of things. So even this experiment in freedom, it's like we're fixated on authoritarian, fist slamming, we control the show, mightiest runs everything. And it's really, the being is not going to stand for it anymore. It's bored, which is why you're seeing so much upheaval. People go, well, the economy's crashing. It's crashing because no one cares anymore. That is the reality. No one cares. They don't want to give another ounce of energy to something that is not satisfying them. And it's the crying out of their being. Saying, no, there's a new way. We're going to do this a different way. Not really a new way. It's much like an old way. It's a forgotten way, but it's coming back. Right? And so the being is really, it's doing what the earth is doing. It's impregnating itself, and it's going to give birth to something new. To where we're not going to have an ego anymore. There will